హలో అచ్చా ఆ, అప్పుడు పెడదామంటావా? ఆ, ఆ. మంచిదే మరి, పర్వాలేదులే. పర్వాలేదు, రేపు పెట్టమంటే పెడతా, నేను రెడీగా ఉంది. ఆ, ఆ. ఆహా. అది ఎడిటబుల్నా? ఎడిటబుల్ బ్రోషరా కాదా? అది కావాలా కదా ఎడిటబుల్. అది వర్డ్ ఫైలా, ఏం ఫైల్ అది? నా అట్లా ఉంటే పంపించారేనా? సరే సరే, ఓకే. సరే సరే, రైట్.
on
ఓకే, రైట్ రైట్. ఇది మెంటల్ హెల్త్ ది స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది, మీరు జాయిన్ కాలే? హలో
Mona man, good morning.
Done speaking. They were
recording, ma. Are you able to see the screen, Harita?
Yes, man, I can.
I'll make you as co-host, ma.
Okay, man.
And then D Harita, no? D
Yes,
Harita.
yes, man.
On the screen, can you see the YouTube link?
Yes, man, I can see, man.
Just click the arrow below. You will get the link.
View stream.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
And
man.
then copy and then send it to all of them.
Okay,
The other.
man.
And then please try to admit the participants. Huh?
Yeah, man. Man,
Yes,
can you
yes.
make Priyanka also as co-host, man?
Where is Priyanka?
Ma'am, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Priyanka. Where are you? Okay.
Ma'am,
I'll make you co-host. Yeah, right. Yeah, I have done it.
okay, ma'am.
Priyanka and Harita, please try to admit the students into the meeting.
Yes,
Okay?
yes, man.
Share
Yes,
the
ma'am.
link also. Can you see it on to the left side where the recording is paused?
Yes, man.
You please take care of that.
Man, it is not showing on my screen, man. Recording paused.
One thing, I'll share it on the chat. Okay, I'm sharing it on the chat.
Okay, man.
Please copy that and then circulate it.
I can take this YouTube link, man, but recording it is not showing on my screen, man.
YouTube link also. See, I've shared the YouTube link. Please pass it on.
Yeah, man.
I think another 7 minutes to go.
Yes, man.
At that time, I will start recording.
Okay, man.
I think about only 5 students have been admitted into the Zoom.
Yes, man. They're entering, man. I asked them to join 10 minutes before the session.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Am I admitting, ma'am, underneath?
Yeah, Priyanka, please carry on.
Take care of it.
Yeah, ma'am.
I think Vijaya ma'am also joined.
Hi, ma'am.
Girls, yes, man.
Yeah, all the others, please mute your.
Man, Pooja, man.
Yeah, Pooja, please.
Man.
I request all the participants to mute their microphones.
Yes, I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah. Even you have to mute your video unless and until you are asked for. Until then you have to, because the problem would be the streaming, the live that is going on will be slowed. Okay, so try to cooperate with us and then please mute both the audio and video. Okay. Good morning, Vijaya.
Vijaya ma'am, you are not audible.
Vijaya, you are not audible. Check your audio. Girls, please off your videos.
Banushri, off your video, ma'am.
Vijaya, if you want to speak, just unmute yourself and speak, Vijaya, because I muted everybody. I request Harita and Priyanka, just check if any of the participants are unmuting themselves. Please mute them back
Yes,
with the
ma'am.
audio as well
Yes,
as
ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Man, we have to give a screen sharing option to the resource person, ma'am. Ma'am, we are not audible, ma'am.
Did the resource person join?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I know the name?
Pooja,
Harita?
ma'am.
Huh?
Pooja Gupta, ma'am.
Pooja Gupta. Okay, I'll unmute and then I will make her as co-host. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
ask her to on the video also. Okay, ask
Yes,
to
ma'am.
start her video.
Pooja, ma'am.
Hello,
Yes.
Pooja.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi. I thought you were one of our students.
Yeah, that's why I sent in a message. I figured as much.
I think yeah, it's exactly 11:30. Maybe you can. We just waiting for Vijaya ma'am to respond. Once she does, and then we can start our session. I'll be going live on YouTube, and then I will start recording too. I'm just asking Vijaya ma'am to start that. Yeah, because
Ma'am, principal, ma'am. I think ma'am is also joining, ma'am.
okay, I will ask principal also to join.
Vijay, ma'am will let us know that, ma'am.
Yeah.
Shobana, ma'am.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Vijaya, you are audible. You can start the session. I'll start recording now.
Welcome, Pooja.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, so Harita? Harita?
Ma'am, I'm calling Shobana, ma'am. She's having some problem with connection, it seems.
Okay, we'll wait for a minute and
Yes,
then
ma'am.
we can start. Or shall I start, Harita? Hello?
Ma'am, can't hear you.
No. Dear students, welcome all to the program. In just probably a minute, Principal Ma'am also will join you. We'll begin soon. Hope all of you doing fine. All of you are safe, healthy, you and your families. Pooja, give us a few seconds. Just waiting. Yeah. Harita, I now request you to begin.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good morning to all. I welcome you all to the interactive session on mental health awareness during this COVID-19 pandemic. I welcome Principal Achutaman, Coordinator IQAC Vijayaman, Counselor Shobhanaman, Sahita Counseling Center, Abhivyara Women's College, and today's resource person, Pooja Gupta Man, professional psychologist from POSPER Perspective. Now I welcome Vijayaman to say a few words about the program.
First, a warm welcome to Pooja Gupta from Aarti Selvan's POSPER Perspective. And I'm extremely thankful for the organization to come here to give us students an awareness on mental health. And my dear students, I'm sure by now you all are aware of the importance of mental health as an important aspect to being healthy. And I'm sure this pandemic has posed a lot of stresses to us, right? Putting us in a little bit of anxieties or some kind of fears, whatever. So we thought, let us reach out to you all. Please understand, you all should be aware of that. And you have here people who are willing to help you out, give you awareness. And also we have this counselor, Sahita Counseling Center, and a professional counselor, Shobna ma'am, with us. So please reach out and also give each one of you a lending ear, right, to each other. So we hope all of you will do fine. And without much of time wastage, I extend once again a warm welcome to Pooja Gupta, and I request a principal ma'am to take on. Right, thank you.
Thank you, Vijaya. Good morning, everyone. I welcome my students to interactive session on mental health awareness program. I extend my special welcome to today's speakers, Ms. Pooja Gupta, Lalita Gupta, and Ms. Ruhi Samina for this program. Amidst the ongoing deliberations on whether a switch to the online mode of education will be the way forward in the post-COVID world, colleges and students across the globe are facing a surging mental health crisis. Loss of everyday activities, loss of physical touch, socialization, panic for career, income, economic instability, all these bound to face endless confusion. I hope this program may help the students to overcome psychological problems. I thank Pause Perspectives and Ms. Vijaya and her team for organizing such a wonderful program. Thank you. Over to Vijaya.
Thank you, madam. Harit, I think we request. Yeah.
So now I request Shobhana Man to introduce the speaker. Shobhana Man.
Harita, has ma'am joined?
sorry for the inconvenience, ma'am. Sorry for delay because of technical issue. Madam couldn't join. Now, I would take this opportunity to introduce. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, I would take this opportunity to introduce today's speaker, Ms. Pooja Gupta. Madam completed her post-graduation diploma in psychological counseling skills from St. Francis College for Women, and she is a psychological counselor at Pause for Perspective. She is currently pursuing training as a mindfulness-based therapist from Pause for Perspective and Ottawa Mindfulness Clinic, and she is an intern at Pause for Perspective before joining as a full-time psychologist, professional psychologist there. With this brief introduction, I would welcome Madam to take over the session.
Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen right now. And
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please tell me if you all are able to see the screen?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Just a minute. Yeah. You all can see the screen, right?
Yes, ma'am. We can see your screen.
All right. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for the warm welcome and the introduction. And also,
Man, girls, please don't do any annotations on madam's screen. Man, I request you to disable annotation on your side, man.
right.
Girls, please don't do any.
Thank you so much for that.
Man, on your side, can you please disable it, man?
Yeah, I've disabled it.
Thank you, man.
Okay. Yeah. So, Harita, could you just tell me what are you able to see on the screen right now? It's just
it has a pause for perspective only.
It's just the PPT, right?
Yes, yes, man, PPT.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. So, yeah. So, thank you so much for the warm welcome and the introduction, and for this amazing opportunity. I do understand that at this point in time, mental health is extremely important. Conversations around mental health are extremely important. And yeah, so I'm really grateful to be here for this opportunity to start a conversation about mental health in such a crucial time. As Harita introduced me, I am a counselor and I am working at Pause for Perspective currently as a psychological counselor. And before we begin our session today, I would just like to start with a few of these pointers that are mentioned on the screen. I would, as it's been reiterated before, just want everybody to ensure that their microphones are muted to avoid as much as possible. If you all want, you all could anonymize your names if you all are comfortable with that. If there are any questions, any replies, I would definitely prefer them on my chat box so that I can read it out loud and we can have a discussion around that. You can send it to me privately or to everyone. And if at any time anybody is experiencing any sort of trigger, they're feeling uncomfortable, you can let me know. And if you would like, you could step out. I would definitely want you all to let me know if at any point in time anything is triggering anybody. Yeah, so those are some things before we begin. Over here in this particular image, right? Over here in this particular image, could you all, possibly send in some replies on what do you think this particular image is denoting, or what do you understand from this image? Am I audible? Because
Man, a small request, man. Can you just increase your volume and on your speak?
am I audible now?
You're audible, man. A bit high, man. Volume.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes, man.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I just wanted, a few answers on the chat as to what do you think this particular image that you see on the screen might be about? Like, what sense do you make of it? A closed mind is one of the answers that I've gotten. Okay. What else? One is controlling the other. All right. Pulling us down and feeling low. Thank you so much for the answers coming. What else? An inner self that controls our mental state. Okay. Any other? Destroying the thoughts of oneself. All right. Any other last thoughts? An introvert person. Day by day, our strength decreases. Right. Thank you so much for those answers. The reason we start the presentation with this shut our negative thoughts, shattering our thoughts. The reason why, thank you so much. The reason why we start with this particular image is because this is open to interpretation, right? Like a lot of people, like you said, have given us a lot of different answers, like, pulling us down, making us feel low. We're trying to control our mental state. We're shutting down. We might be an introvert person. And oftentimes, a lot of people have also, mentioned that maybe this is a person trying to rejuvenate themselves by sort of calming themselves down. So basically the reason, the intent behind this image is to understand that there are different perspectives to a particular situation, particular image, and all are valid. Thank you so much for those answers. So as we move forward, could y'all, from whatever y'all have heard of, had conversations about for, with people, or y'all have seen on media, what is your understanding of what mental health is? Again, on the chat, there's no right or wrong answer. Like I said, there are a lot of different perspectives, and we're here to talk about those perspectives. So, feel free to send it to me privately or to the entire group. What do you think mental health is? What is mental health? A state of mental well-being, thoughts of our mind, emotionally well. Okay. A psychological stability, miss that out, right? Absence of mental illness, question. Psychological and emotional well-being, unable to express words and feeling alone, the way we behave. Right. So you see how over here, a lot of answers are about what does it mean to be mentally healthy, like emotional balance, or unable, or psychological and emotional well-being, emotionally well, a state of mental well-being, a psychological stability, absence of mental illness, but also how there are answers, which basically, in our, day-to-day lives, we talk about how certain, words like depression, like mental illness, right? Like unable to express our words and feelings. These, when we have these, or when we might be experiencing these, often we, we interpret it as not being mentally healthy or not experiencing mental health. Our way of thinking, state of despondency, right? Thank you so much for those answers coming. Now, moving on to, so y'all have mentioned about these answers that you feel from your conversations, from what y'all have been exposed to through media, that this is what mental health means. So, when we're talking about these conversations, what do you think are the ideas or the ways in which we look at health and we look at mental health? How do we talk about health and more specifically mental health? What are the ideas that are there in the world around what it means to be healthy, what it means to be mentally healthy? Again, there are no right or wrong answers. And if you have any questions, you can leave them on the chat as well. But right, learn how to deal with mental stress. Thank you so much for that. Yes, that is an idea of what it means to be healthy and specifically mentally healthy, to be able to learn how to deal with the stress. Okay. What else? To share our problems with our loved ones. If a person is stable and has inner happiness, positivity, being positive, balanced emotions, the way of being happy with a positive attitude. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the answers coming in. Balancing with stress, emotions, and everything. Okay. Balancing of mental and physical health. Sharing our problems with friends or family members. Right. Avoid self-criticism. Confidence. We should stop seeing negativity. Taking care of ourselves physically can improve our mental health. Thank you so much for that, because over here, we often, when we talk about health, we only talk about physical health, but it is so important to also see that health is more holistic. It includes mental health. Controlling your emotions as we should control our emotions. Emotions should not control us. Balancing by meditation. We have to learn how to deal with stress and set realistic goals. Ability to control emotions and responding according to situations. Thank you so much. I'm going to move ahead, but over here I would like to stop and say that just look at how we're talking about mental health, how we're talking about what it means to be mentally healthy. It means that we have to learn how to deal with stress. We have to learn how to control our emotions. We have to learn how to take care of ourselves, avoid self-criticism, share with our friends, families, balance our physical, mental health, balance stress, emotions, everything, be positive, not be negative. Right, so I just want you to keep these things in mind as we're moving ahead, and I'm going to bring it all together. So now, what we spoke about were conversations that we have on a daily basis, right? Like just about mental health. The conversations that we have on a daily basis are about, if you're not experiencing stress, if you're learning how to deal with stress, then we're mentally healthy. If we're, basically the absence, if we're being positive, if we don't have negativity in our lives, then we're mentally healthy. And that's what we're told, right? Like, and that's what you shared about when you spoke about what are the ideas around health, around mental health. What is mental health? It's the absence of, say, depression, or not being able to express emotions, right? But really, when we're talking about what is the science saying about mental health, over here I would like to bring in aspects of biology, and also aspects of the documentations that we have made, the classifications that we have made, to sort of classify what is a mental illness and what is not a mental illness. So there is the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistic Manual, which is a document that contains all the disorders. It explains what symptoms should persist for a certain experience to qualify as a disorder. Right. So I'm going to move into that. But before that, I would like to talk about the World Health Organization, how it defines health and how it defines mental health. So the World Health Organization defines health as a complete state of physical, social, and mental well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity or any kind of weakness. So what the World Health Organization over here is defining health as is that if at any point in time, if at all points in time, we are completely in a complete state of physically, socially, and mentally, we're feeling like we're well. And it's not just that we don't have any disease or any physical weakness, or mental weakness, but a state of well-being, a complete state of well-being. And World Health Organization defines mental health as a state of well-being wherein every individual realizes their own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to their community. Now, both these definitions of health and mental health that are given by the World Health Organization are so in line with what we were talking about what are the ideas that prevail around health and mental health, right? It is about having a state of physical, emotional, social well-being. It is about a state of well-being in which every individual is realizing their own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life. Now, the reason why we've underlined well-being and normal and productively, fruitfully, and contribution here is because because over here they have just mentioned these words, but what it really means, right? Like, what is a normal stress of life? How do we define what is a normal stress of life and what is not a normal stress of life? But really, according to the World Health Organization, it is when we are mentally healthy, if we are able to cope with the normal stresses of life, and we're able to work productively, fruitfully, and we're able to make a contribution to the community, and we're feeling well all the time, and we're able to realize our own potential. Now, when we talk about mental health in this way, it almost leads to a sort of feeling that we are always supposed to feel well, that we are always supposed to cope with everything that is thrown at us and work productively and fruitfully, be in a complete state of well-being, physically, socially, emotionally, all the time. And that's what are the conversations that even we all spoke about in mental health, right? Like that we should not be negative, we should be positive. We should learn how to set realistic goals, learn how to control our emotions, balance our emotions all the time. And this almost like sort of puts out that notion that if we are not able to do this at some point in time, then we are not mentally healthy. And I really want to challenge that a little bit. But we'll see how that happens through the course of the presentation. But for now, I would just want you to really think about that. Right. So right now, like I was talking about, what is science saying about mental health? So over here, we are looking at certain aspects, certain prominent words that we use with respect to mental health on a regular basis. And really, what does it mean when we are using these words in context of mental health? What does it mean? And also, why does the DSM use these words in this way to describe mental health? So one of the first ones we're looking at is stress. So if I were to define stress, stress is the way we react to a change in the current present moment, right? For example, you're writing an exam and your pen stops working. At that moment, your body reacts, right? You might, physically, your heart might start to beat, or you might start sweating, right? Mentally, you might start having thoughts of like, oh, my pen has stopped working. What do I do, right? And you might feel intense fear, right? So the physical, mental, and emotional response is happening at the same time to a sudden change in the environment right now. And that is what stress is, right? Because for us, anytime there is a change in the environment, it is almost like our body is reacting in a way that goes like alert mode, right? Like get alert, right? Like something has changed in the environment. And that reaction is stress. I want to take a pause here. I want to see the chat. Stress leads to depression, particularly to an introvert. That's a very interesting thought. Stress leads to depression, particularly to an introvert. Could you say a bit more about that? Because when we're talking about stress, I'm talking about a change in the current environment. And I am wondering, I am wondering what that means. If you could send in a few more sentences about that. If you're okay. I'm just going to wait for a minute and see if something comes up. Also, we will be talking about depression in a while. And I would like to take the opportunity over here to talk about what it means to be an introvert or an extrovert. Introversion and extroversion is basically just our preference of how we obtain energy, right? Like of how we energize ourselves. So for a person who is introvert, it's not that they're shy or that they don't like talking to people. It's just that they prefer to spend some time on their own to re-energize themselves. When they move into a social situation, they feel like their energy has been drained and they need some alone time to re-energize themselves. Extroverts, on the other hand, re-energize themselves through conversations with other people, with people around them. So that's the difference really. But I do understand what you mean here, because when we talk about an introvert or an extrovert, we do sort of it almost we talk about it in a very in a sense that when we're talking about who when a person is an introvert, we almost say that it sounds like that's not okay, but really it's absolutely okay to be an introvert or an extrovert. It does not mean that you're shy or you don't like talking to people. It's just a very personal trait that people have. Particular changes of situation disturb the person. Exactly. So the way that we talk about introversion or extroversion, I think that makes a person feel like something is not okay with them, and that can lead to a person feeling a certain way about themselves. But over here, I would like to say that it is not necessarily about stress, because stress is very, very it's a reaction to the sudden change in the environment. So I will definitely talk about depression a little bit more later, but for now, just to remember that stress is a very current change or a current response to the change in the environment in the present moment. It has nowhere to do with the future or the past, right? Thank you for that. So moving on to the second conversation around anxiety. Now, before I move into that conversation, I would like to say a few words about what anxiety really is. Anxiety is a worry about the future. So unlike stress, which is about the current moment, anxiety is about the future. It's a worry about the future, that something may or may not happen. In stress, something has really happened and you're responding to it. In anxiety, you're thinking about something that may or may not happen. For instance, if you have to give a presentation in class tomorrow, right, and you're thinking about will I be able to present everything that I have to say? Will I have enough time? And that is one of the examples of anxiety. It is a worry about the future, about something you don't know whether it may or may not happen, but the fact that it may happen and you're worrying about it, right? So over here, I would appreciate some, responses in terms of how do you think anxiety makes its presence felt in your life? When do you think, it comes, and when it comes, how do you know that it has come? It can be that your body starts to feel very restless. It could be that you have a lot of thoughts about the future. It could be anything, right? So overthinking is one of the answers. Overthinking very frequently, we start to doubt ourselves and our abilities. Absolutely. And it's interesting, right? When we're talking about overthinking, we're talking about starting to doubt ourselves, doubt our abilities. See how it's making its present felt, right? Because you're in the example that I gave, right, like that tomorrow something may or may not happen in the presentation, you're starting to doubt yourself today. It leads to useless expectations. I would want to know a little bit more about that, but from what I'm understanding that maybe it means that when we're thinking about the future, we're worrying about the future. We're almost wanting something to happen. Yes, when you fear about something, lack of confidence, you're pressurizing yourself. absolutely. So you see how anxiety makes its presence felt in your life on such a daily basis, where um, you're doubting yourself, you're worried about the future, you're pressurizing yourself, you don't have confidence, you're overthinking about things. It makes you almost want things in a certain way, right? Due to, yeah, you can't concentrate on other issues or on other things in your life. Absolutely. So over here, it's important to understand that anxiety is something that we all experience, right? Like bothering whether we do it or not, what we want to do, overthinking, feeling of worry, nervousness, right? So all of this is very, very common, right? Like these are experiences that we all have. Anxiety as an experience um, is something that we all have, right? In the sense that um, just the way that we all feel nervous at times, right? It's not something that we don't experience, right? For instance, with the presentation example, there are times when we experience nervousness, we experience anxiety, we're worried about how the presentation might go, and at the same time we might be able to still rehearse through it, maybe reach out for help from our teachers, from our friends, from our family, and possibly present the next day. And then maybe the next time that you present, you may not feel as nervous, right? So in that way, anxiety is something that we experience, all of us experience, a worry about the future, and that is normal. But when does it become clinical anxiety according to the DSM, right? When does science come in this? So in this, the DSM talks about how when there is a persistent, a constant, intense worry, restlessness, nervousness about the future, about something that may or may not happen, right? So this intense worry that exists for a period of 6 months every day about something, that is when anxiety becomes clinical in nature. And I would like to pause here and say that, this is not something, this is the information that, is not a gateway to diagnose yourself, right? When I talk about mental health professionals at the end of the session, I would want to say that, it is only mental health professionals who can diagnose, a certain kind of mental health professional who can diagnose whether you have clinical anxiety. Just like how you go to a doctor, to get body checkups. You can't say what you have on your own. In the same way, even with mental health, with clinical anxiety, it is something that that needs to be diagnosed by a mental health professional and worked on. It's not something that you can diagnose by yourself. But according to DSM, it moves, the normalcy of the anxiety moves to a clinical state when this anxiety that you're experiencing, this worry about the future you're experiencing daily for a period of 6 months. Right, and it may have a lot of physical, symptoms. You might experience a panic attack, difficulty in sleeping, or you might, feel restless, not being able to breathe, your heart beating fast. Right. So these, if you're experiencing it on an everyday basis for a period of 6 months, then it becomes clinical, because it's not just particular situation and then you're not experiencing the nervousness. It's persistent. I have a question in my chat. Could you elaborate on the relationship between overthinking and anxiety? Because overthinking is known to be a sign of both depression and anxiety. So, I can actually go into that a little bit more when I do depression. But, I would say that anxiety and overthinking are definitely related more, because anxiety is constant thoughts about the future, where you're overthinking about the future. But depression might be thoughts about negative thoughts, more so about yourself or about anything that's happening around you. It's more of negative thoughts. When you're overthinking about the negative thoughts, that's when it becomes depression. It's not so much about the future, it's so much about, current moment as well, right? Like just about a lot of negativity. But I can go into that a little bit more later. But for now, it's important to know that anxiety is a worry or overthinking about the future, right? About something that may or may not happen. So, like I said, that this is not something you can diagnose by yourself, but if you were to say, right, what are the instances in which you doubt yourself? What are the instances in which it sneaks into your life, in which you are worried about the future? Could you maybe send in some answers about that? When do you think anxiety sneaks into our lives? How does it make its presence feel felt? Is we said, we can't concentrate, we are doubting ourselves. But when do we doubt ourselves? When can't we concentrate? When does it sneak into our lives? When we are under the performance pressure of something. Absolutely. What else? Any other answers? When does anxiety come up in your lives? During exams, during results? Yes. Okay. When we have a lack of confidence in ourselves, but why do you think you have a lack of confidence? Like, what might be leading to that? Something I would want you to think about. When we do not plan our course of action properly, absolutely. When we are not prepared as much. Presentation before a large crowd. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So I'm going to move ahead into the last conversation around mental health concerns, depression. So there was another answer about when does it come in? When we think about our future. Sure. Thank you. So right now, if you all were to, so now depression, if I were to, talk about depression, I would actually, before we answer this question, I would want to talk a little bit about depression. So depression, when we are talking about clinical depression, there is a difference between feeling sad and experiencing clinical depression, right? Sadness is an emotion that we all experience, like how there is some sort of anxiousness, nervousness that we all experience at some point in time. Sadness is also an emotion that we all experience, based on what's happening in our life, right? But it stays for some time, and then maybe we work on it, we talk to people, and it goes away. But when we're talking about depression, clinical depression is persistent feeling of sadness, of low mood, which persists through the day, every day, for a period of 2 weeks at least. So every day, throughout the day, if you're experiencing extreme sadness, low mood, you don't have interest in activities that you used to like before, you are feeling very irritable, you don't feel like talking to anyone, there is change in your eating habit, either you're eating too much or you're not eating at all, or your sleeping habit, either you're sleeping a lot or you're not sleeping at all. You don't feel like talking to anybody, you have thoughts of self-harm, of suicide, right? You have very little energy concentration in things, right? And if these are persistently there for a period of 2 weeks, every day, throughout the day, then a person might be experiencing clinical depression. And this is again not something that you can diagnose by yourself. This, if you feel like you might want to explore it for yourself, you need to reach out to a mental health professional. It is not something you can diagnose by yourself. And with anxiety, with depression, what we have been talking about, I have a question here: how to help people overcome clinical depression. I will be talking about it a little bit later, but I want you all to understand that these concerns that we are talking about, they are they're just as prevalent as any other health concerns that we might have, right? So for this, what we need to do is to get the right kind of help, right? We need to get the right kind of help, of a lot of support from the people around us, help from mental health professionals, either through talk therapy or through medication. And these are ways in which we can help overcome this experience. It is absolutely for whatever reason a person might experience these in their life, and this might be impacting their life in whatever way, and they don't want it to impact it in that way. Then with the right kind of help, this can be something that they overcome. It is just as normal as experiencing any other health concern. um, I know that we have a lot of stigma attached with mental health, but really we all experience, um, you know, or we all have a susceptibility to experience these at different levels, in different ways in our life. And with the right kind of help, we can all feel better. We can all work on this for ourselves, for what we want. So, when we're talking about so I would want, some answers. When do you think depression might sneak into someone's life? Not necessarily your life, but, just when do you think depression might sneak into someone's life, right? Because we were talking about, how overthinking also might be a way in which depression sneaks into your life. So I do want to understand, like, what, possibly what thoughts you might have of when and how does depression sneak into your life, and, how might it make its presence felt when they fail pursuing their aim, when you lose someone else, someone close, when your loved ones leave you forever, like family and friends, failure, loneliness. Absolutely. These are amazing answers, right? And you see the difference when you're talking about anxiety, when you're talking about depression. You already see the difference, right? Of how, when we're talking about anxiety, it's about future, it's about something that we're worrying about. But depression is about a feeling of sadness, right? It's a feeling of feeling lonely, of when you lose someone you're very close to, when you fail in pursuing your aim, when people are constantly criticizing and judging you, when someone blames you for no reason, right? So these are ways in which you might experience sadness, and how these are ways in which depression might sneak into your life if this goes on for a prolonged time period. If you are experiencing sadness for a prolonged time period. Yeah, losing something we loved the most. Right? So loss is something that's coming up very prominently. Yes. So thank you so much for those answers. So basically, I'm going to, take a step back and talk about what we've spoken about till now in context of this particular slide that you see in front of you right now. So There's another answer here. If someone doesn't express their feelings with respect to depression, when it might sneak into your life, right? Because if you've bottled up all your feelings, absolutely. When you and you know, which possibly means that you feel lonely, you don't feel like you can express your feelings with others, right? So we spoke about how World Health Organization talks about mental health, about being healthy as a state of well-being, you know, where we're coping with all this normal stresses, working productively, fruitfully, right? Where we even the ideas of mental health that we spoke about were about, you know, how we need to be positive, not be negative, you know, control our emotions. You know, we need to be emotionally stable, you know, all of those aspects of mental health, almost like saying that if we are experiencing this, you know, at all points of time, if we are happy at all points of time or well at all points of time, then we are mentally healthy, right? And when we're talking about science, right, like the way science talks about you know, anxiety, depression, it almost sort of quantifies it, right? Like, of course, we experience stress on a daily basis. We experience, because changes happen on a daily basis. Anxiousness, nervousness is also something we experience on a daily basis. Sadness is also something we experience on a daily basis. But science, according to the DSM, it quantifies it, right? If you're experiencing this for 6 months, then you have clinical anxiety. If you're experiencing this for 2 weeks, then you might have clinical depression, right? So it's almost quantifying it, right? So DSM was the way we, classified this for ourselves, was to say that, you know, okay, we're all experiencing this at some point in time, but if we're experiencing this for a longer period of time, then possibly, you know, we need more help. And that's what the science, that's what the DSM talks about, right? So you see how over there almost it's saying that yes, we do experience, you know, certain emotions, certain experiences, but when it becomes prolonged, when we are not able to help ourselves for a long period of time with those experiences, then we are possibly classifying it as something and for which we might need help, right? So now over here in this particular presentation, or in this particular slide, you see how a person is living within the world and within this you know, science that talks about you know, or like the medical model of mental health, right? So the world says that you should always, you know, sort of experience happiness. And the medical model says that, you know, if you're experiencing something which is not happiness for a long period of time, then you need help. And you're in between here, right? And it does not talk about why. None of these models talk about why are you experiencing what you're experiencing, right? If you're experiencing something for a long period of time, like you know, you all said the pressure of the future, right? The pressure of that, you know, someone might criticize you, someone might judge you, right? When you lose someone, right? So these are certain things that we spoke about, right? About why are we experiencing what we are experiencing. But the medical model doesn't talk about that, right? It doesn't talk about how much support do we have in our lives. It doesn't talk about why are we not able to productively contribute to the community. It only talks about how, you know, if you're experiencing this for so and so period of time, then this is what is happening. And the world is talking about how every time if you're not able to cope with your stresses, then this is what's happening. But really, when you're here at this position, you know, living in this world, in this medical model, there's no conversation about why are you experiencing what you're experiencing, right? And so it becomes important for you to understand that while these classifications are happening, it's important for you to understand that wherever you are in your life, right, it is because of some experience, some context that you're in, something that's happening, some kind of support that you may or may not have, some kind of resources that you may or may not have. Is this making sense? You know, would you want me to explain this a little bit more? any thoughts on the chat? Any thoughts about this particular slide? What it means to be in the world, along with this medical model that we have made for our own convenience, for understanding what's happening for us, but also how it does not talk about why are we experiencing what we're experiencing and what we really want for ourselves. Okay, so so I'm guessing that there are no doubts because I didn't receive any message. So having said this, right, that that yes, what we might want for ourselves is to experience well-being, is to experience happiness and positivity. But having said that, it's not humanly possible to experience that all the time, right? It's not possible for us to in the world that we live in not experience some experiences, right? And and all of us come from different backgrounds, different stages in our life, different contexts in our life. And it's important to keep that in mind when we're looking at what mental health means, at what the medical model is telling, right? Because the medical model is just a way of a framework to look at what's happening. But really, it's important to understand where that you are in the middle of this, and you're living in a context, and it's important to see where you are coming from, right? Um, so that's one thing. So having said that, I would want you all to express some answers as to if these particular experiences are entering into your life, how do you think you might want to take care of yourself, take care of your health in this coming week, right? Because at this moment, there is so much uncertainty with the virus, with what's happening in the world, right? And we're all coming from different stages in our life, different backgrounds in our life, and so I am wondering, personally for yourself, how might you want to take care of yourself in this coming week amidst all of this, just the uncertainty, just the stress that you might be experiencing, and possibly even anxiety or depression. Any sharings of how you might want to take care of yourself? It can be as simple as you want to wake up and see the sunrise, or you want to spend some time with your family. Yes, being happy with family and friends. Thank you so much. Practicing some hobby, or it could be just taking some time off for yourself, staying positive, being happy, doing meditation, spending time with your loved ones and family, accepting every situation, um, diverting our mind. Sometimes that might be necessary when our mind is too um, heavy with all of this content. Keep ourselves busy all the time. Yes. Doing yoga, enjoying the sunrise, the sunset, improving our skills, physical activities, being happy with family and friends. Yes, thank you so much for those answers. Seeing the good in others, doing good. Stop thinking about the thing which hurts us. being cool, adjusting to the situation. Yeah, absolutely. So, doing the work we love the most as we have the time to do it, having friendly nature, which makes us overcome all the difficulties, accepting what I am, spending quality time with people around you, talking to them can relieve us, motivating ourselves, right? So over here, I would like to, say thank you so much for such, interactive answers, accepting the situation and moving on, right? So I feel like, so see, in so many ways, we already know how to take care of ourselves, how we want to take care of ourselves, right? It's not so much about always being mentally, in a state of well-being, but it's about more about taking care of ourselves, right? Um, that's the most important bit, right? Because we do experience certain things on a daily basis. um, we might experience stress, anxiousness, or sadness on a daily basis, or we might not experience it, right? But so it's not the lack of any of these experiences, but it's about how we want to take care of ourselves when we experience this, right? It is about, if we're experiencing this for a longer period of time, why are we experiencing this? It's, the classification is not to stigmatize anybody, but it is to say that if, you are experiencing something on a longer basis, and it is affecting you, you're not able to take care of yourself, then how do you take care of yourself? Because it's absolutely normal for you to experience clinical anxiety or clinical depression, based on your biological makeup, based on the experiences that you've had. And so how do you take care of yourself then, right? So it's really about that. And that's what my next slide is going to be. It's about, when do you want to seek help? When do you feel like you need to seek help? So, it's important to say that all our mental healths are different because we are coming from different backgrounds. And so we all have a certain window, right? Like I might have a certain window of tolerance, and each one of you might have a different window of tolerance right here, right? And this is based on our own biological makeup and the experiences that we've had in our lives. So the concept of the window is that through the day, we're going up and down within the window, right? Within the window means that you're not experiencing any kind of stress, but maybe you wake up, and when you wake up, your activity is a little higher, right? Like, so within the window, you are moving up, and then you possibly get ready, do some things that you want, and then you take a little rest during the day, and so your activity goes down. So within the day, we are moving up and down, when we're doing some activities, when we're taking rest, right? So we're moving up and down within the window on a daily basis. And there are times when we might shoot out of the window, either up or below for some time, and then come back, right? Like the presentation that I said, you might be outside the window for some time, and then you might talk to people, might try to take care of yourself, feel a little better, and then come down after the presentation, or even while you're preparing for the presentation, you might start to feel more confident, right? Because it's absolutely normal for us to feel nervous, but you immediately come down, right? Or you might go below the window when possibly you're experiencing say a failure, and you're experiencing real sadness, you're feeling really low. At that point in time, you might go below the window, you don't feel like doing anything for some time, and then you might again come up within the window, right? So in this way, for some time, you might move out of the window and then come back again. And over here, when you're moving out for some time and then coming back over here, what really helps is seeking support from your loved ones, from your teachers, from your friends, from your family. Doing these things, what you said, right? Like motivating yourself, spending quality time with people, accepting the situation, motivating yourself, and doing what you love, right? Taking some time off, cooling yourself down, improving your skills, right? All of these things are some things that you can do to move back into the window. But when you might want to seek help, because within the window is when you're not stressed, when you're not feeling low, and you're able to do whatever you want. But what might happen in terms of clinical anxiety or depression or any sort of that those kind of concerns is that you move out of the window and you're there for a long period of time, right? Like in depression, you're under the window for the hypoarousal over here that you see, right? You're there for a long period of time, for a period of 2 weeks or more. You're not able to get back into the window. Or with clinical anxiety, you might, you see a hyper arousal. You might stay out of the window for a longer period of time, for a period of 6 months, where you're feeling anxious about certain situations, and you're not able to get back into the window. When you're experiencing that for a long period of time, that is when you might want to seek help. But also, seeking help is something that you can do at any point in time. So even if you're feeling hyper or hypo aroused for a short period of time, you can still seek help. There's nothing like it, right? Because if you feel like you are not able to get help otherwise, you can seek help from a professional at any point in time. But it's absolutely necessary when you are out of the window for a long period of time to seek help. So that's that. The last part, like when do you so who are the professionals whom you can reach out to for help? So over here there are the points that I have mentioned. The social worker. A social worker is basically a person who might be working in an NGO or not, and who does social work. And social workers really they advocate for mental health. They might help you in understanding more about mental health, understanding what might be happening to you, why it might be happening to you, advocating for your own safety, for your own wellness in a lot of ways. A therapist or a counseling psychologist is a person who has done their master's in counseling, at least, and they are basically mental health professionals whom you can reach out to if you're experiencing such concerns where you want to talk to someone and understand what might be happening to you. Clinical psychologist is also a talk therapist, but clinical psychologists, through their degree, they are the professionals who can, make assessments of, just like how you have like these, physical tests that you undergo for your health, for your physical health. In the same way, there are assessments for your mental health that a clinical psychologist can do, a counseling psychologist cannot. But a counseling psychologist, if they feel like there is a possibility that you might need some assessment, they can refer you to a clinical psychologist. And a clinical psychologist does talk therapy too. Psychiatrist is the only mental health professional who can prescribe medication. A clinical psychologist, counseling psychologist, social worker cannot. Only a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist is a mental health professional who has completed their MBBS and has specialized in psychiatry. So these are, so based on what you might be experiencing, you can possibly take medication or not take medication, and take counseling or have a combination of the two, right? That's something that you can discuss with your professional, what might be the most appropriate way for you to go on. And again, reiterating that this is something that you can work, that you can take care of yourselves in the way that you want to. There is absolutely nothing not normal about it. It is just as experiencing any other health concern. I would like to end our conversation with just talking about, if you do, go to a therapist, what might you want to expect? So this is something that at Foster Perspective we have curated, the spirit of a therapist. A therapist must be someone who is very curious, non-judgmental, respectful, empathetic, listening to you, remembering what you're saying, understanding you, but also not afraid to confront you when it's required for your own good, right? Very open to your experience, trying to understand you and help you in a way that you want to be helped with. So the agency, the hold of the session is with you, right? Like how you want to seek help. And it is collaborative, right? So they have certain knowledge that they can share, but it's also about how you want to take it, how you want to be helped. They maintain confidentiality. They share their information, research with you, whatever they have that might help you, right? Make sure that you're comfortable, and make sure that they are respecting your limits. They are guiding you, and not advising or suggesting, but really guiding you in the way that you want to be helped, very, very collaboratively. It's a process, right, where you all are working towards certain goals together. So it's completely, you have the right over how you want to be helped. And maintaining complete transparency, being open to your suggestions, right? So those are some of the things that are very important when you're looking for a therapist. That's pretty much what I had in mind for our session today. Just about what mental health, the way we have conversations about mental health, the way we read or document about mental health, and how these are frameworks. But really, it's important to understand that we are living in a world where we experience a lot of different things, and it's important to take care of ourselves in the ways that we want to. It's not anything to shy away from. We have a lot of help here. We all need, uh, you know, to take care of ourselves in the ways that are fit for us. Um, and yeah, and that's pretty much my hope for today, to just start a conversation about mental health, to look at how mental health is very, very important, especially in this context when, we are all experiencing such a sudden change in our lives. By default, we're experiencing stress. So yeah, so that was my intent for today's session. Thank you so much for hearing me out. Thank you so much for being so interactive. It was amazing. So this was my first online session workshop, and it was amazing to have you all being so interactive. Thank you so much. I am here in the slides. We have certain, so Possible Perspective, where I work, is a counseling organization. We're located in Kundanbag, Begumpet. And we're an organization, a counseling organization founded by Aarti Selvan, who is a counseling psychologist, who is a psychotherapist. She's trained in mindfulness and from the Ottawa Mindfulness Clinic, Canada. And these are some of the services that we offer. So we provide, and all of these are online at the moment too. We provide counseling, which is individual, couples. We have assessments. We have a safe space where people once a week get together. They just share their experiences, talk about certain topics. We have a mindfulness-based 8-week workshop where you can learn mindfulness for yourself. There is Slow Down Saturdays, which is just every alternate Saturday, a program where you come in, you meditate for some time, you do contemplative work, like maybe through art, expressive art therapy. Mindfulness Sangha is also one event that we have weekly on Saturdays, where you can just do a small meditation practice, reflect on a mindfulness-based reading, right? So all of these are open for everybody here. Online guided meditation is also one which is conducted by our energy healer and mentor, Mr. Selvan. And we have other such workshops on different topics that we conduct as well for mental health. So these are some of the services that we offer. And you can reach out to us on our social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook. These are the numbers you can reach out to if you're interested in any of the services that I mentioned before. You can even reach out to us on the social media. On Instagram, we're very active. You can DM us if you're interested in any of our services, and we can help you with it. These are the numbers where you can call for all the information about the services if you want to enroll in anything. So I'm just going to leave it here for a minute. You can note it down if you'd like. Okay. So I would like to end the session with grounding. So grounding is one of the things that we do at Positive Perspective, which is basically a tool where if you're feeling very stressed, very anxious about something, these are ways in which you can ground yourself in the present moment, so that from your thoughts, you're coming back to the present moment. So, you can either just see 5 things around you and say it out loud, or you can feel the texture of like 4 things around you, maybe the sofa, maybe the pillow, like different textures, right? Different, or just how your clothes feel. 3 things that you can hear, right? Like, so maybe the fan, sound, or the vehicles, or any other work going on. You can smell 2 things around you, or you can taste something. You can get something from the kitchen and just taste it. So 5 things you see. So basically engaging your sense organs in the current moment to come back to the present moment. Either you're listening, or your smell, your taste, your touch, or your vision. So this is the way you ground yourself into the present moment. This is something you can practice right now, anytime when you're feeling stressed. So to come back to the present moment. That's pretty much what I had in mind today. So I can stop my screen sharing, and yeah. So thank you so much for hearing me out. I hope you all liked the session. Thank you,
ma'am.
for all the thank yous on the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful session. Students, if anyone wants to interact with ma'am, just raise your hands. We'll unmute you. Yes, Anusha, you can interact with Manma. Unmute yourself and interact.
So I have some questions. Okay, so I have a question in my chat. How to control your anger? So this though this is not like under the purview of our conversation, but something that might help over here, just a few lines that I might do is, anger is an emotion that you experience in response to something that's happening. And so the thing with anger is that in itself it's not an emotion that you shouldn't experience. It's just about how sometimes when we experience anger, we might respond in a way that's not helpful to us. right? So it's again about if you're experiencing anger and you don't want to express it in a way that's not helping you, how do you take care of yourself then in that way? For that, firstly, it's important to understand why is the anger coming? Why are you experiencing anger, right? Because it's not something that's just coming on its own. Why are you experiencing anger at that point in time? Asking yourself that. And then, there are a lot of ways in which you can actually even, like, Google it, but a lot of ways in which you can manage anger in just taking deep breaths when you're experiencing anger, and trying to understand why is it coming, and then responding to the other person after you've taken some deep breaths, because that sort of the grounding could be a way that you can help yourself get back into the present moment, see what's happening for you, and then respond in a way that's helpful for you. So that's, hope that answers your question. Any other?
Okay. Girls, if anyone have any questions, kindly post in chat box or you can raise your hand. We'll unmute you. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, so there's just one more, the last one possibly that I can answer. How to overcome stage fear, how to get through mood swings. How to overcome stage fear. So, stage fear, again, it is for you to see, is this something that you're experiencing for a long period of time, every time? If you're experiencing it every time for a long period of time, then, maybe seeking out professional help might help. But if you are experiencing stage fear, not all the time, but at some moments, then it might again help to see that you can possibly talk to someone around you. You can maybe rehearse a little bit before you get on. If that's possible, so that you feel a bit more confident of what you're putting out. Mostly stage fear comes because there's a fear of judgment from other people, right? So that is something that can be worked on with a professional very well. How to get through mood swings, I think, would be, again, mood swings. It's important to understand, that mood swings can be normal at some times, right? Like, it's often our response to mood swings, and why am I experiencing a mood swing, that creates havoc, right? But sometimes mood swings might be normal, right? If especially due to hormonal changes, it might be absolutely normal. So if you feel like this is something that's happening on a regular basis, then you might want to reach out to a professional so that they can see if you're experiencing something, or if it's not that prevalent, then to really understand why is the mood swing happening. Is there a particular reason why it's happening? Maybe is it around the time when you have your menstrual cycles, or is it not because of that? Is it about something else? Is it about maybe some stress that you're experiencing currently in your life, about your change in your sleeping patterns, anything? So I think it needs more exploration in that way. Are there some kinds of drugs that help with depression? Yes, there are, but these are that need to be prescribed by psychiatrists. And this is something, again, that you cannot diagnose by yourself. So you need to first go to a health professional if you feel like you're experiencing something, and then accordingly, see what is the type of treatment that you might want for yourself. Is anxiety positive? Yes, anxiety is definitely positive. For instance, so that's what I said, right? Like, anxiety is something we experience, right? Imagine if you weren't feeling anxious about the presentation tomorrow, then you wouldn't prepare today, right? So in that way, it is definitely positive. It helps you to, be on top of your work. But like I said, if you're experiencing it on a, if you're beyond the window for a long period of time, then it can interfere in the work that you want to do. When it's interfering in the work that you want to do, that's when you might want to seek help. What other people think about us, does that really matter? What other people think about us, does that really matter? That's an interesting question because, a lot of times, the fear of evaluation by others can lead to anxiety. And I feel like when we're talking about whether it really matters, I think it's about how you want to take care of yourself. If you feel like, if someone is approaching you respectfully about something, then, is it like something that you want to take for yourself, ponder over for yourself? But, if someone is just being toxic, then it's possibly not helpful. I think that is not, something that I can just answer in one or two sentences. But yeah. Will anxiety come back after treatment? So anxiety, like I said, is something that we all experience on a daily basis. It's the nervousness is very normal for us to experience. But when we are talking about experiencing it for a long period of time and we're seeking help, we definitely learn ways to manage it for ourselves. And so it's not really about the challenge is not to completely get rid of anxiety. It's to manage it in a way that works for ourselves, because it can be good for ourselves. Our bodies are designed in that way that we experience anxiousness, nervousness, because it keeps us motivated to protect ourselves, to take care of ourselves. So the help that you seek, the main aim is not to completely not feel anxious, because our bodies are not designed that way. It's about how do you manage it to take care of yourself.
One participant wants to talk. I'll unmuting her, man. Bhargavi, unmute yourself, ma'am. Yeah, fine, man. Yes. So, man,
Yeah. Yeah, I think, Harita, we can.
Yes, man. So, I would like to thank you, man, for sparing your valuable time and interacting with our students which is very needed in this about the mental health. And I would like to thank you for explaining clearly what is mental health, what is different between health and mental health, and what is the science behind the mental health, and how to handle the stress, anxiety, and depression during this hour and in general also in our day-to-day life. And also I would like to thank even our students for your active participation. And I would take this opportunity to thank Principal Achutaman and IQAC Coordinator Vijayaman for organize and management of our college for organizing this event. And I would like to thank Mohana ma'am for organizing this program, Zoom session, and Priyanka and all the members of IQAC. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Amazing being here.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
So,
and I would like to make a small announcement. All the students fill the feedback form, which is posted in chat box, and also will be posting it in the Telegram group. Also, fill the feedback. Thank you, ma'am. Shall we wind up the session, ma'am? Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Harita, can I end the session, Harita?
Ma'am, you can end the session, ma'am.